Hello, you're watching Cal67 Gaming, and because we've now moved into February, there's something else that we need to do.
Yep.
A little recap of
Our month in games.
So, as we mentioned in our last video, January for us means that we both have a birthday. So, had some nice pickups and played some nice games. Obviously on the back of Christmas, there's always something to play, which is not always well, it is always, there's always something to play, but there's more than usual to play.
Yeah,
By January.
it also does technically mean that the list of games that we do need to play builds and builds and builds as well.
Well, it does, especially because sometimes we have months where we put a lot of time into a few games,
Yeah.
and we still seem to pick loads up, like I said, on the back of Christmas and what have you. So I think we should really just start where we always start, and what we chose for each other last month. And what did you choose for me?
Well, last month I did choose for you a Xbox 360 game. I chose for you last month Eternal Sonata.
So this has sat in the collection for quite a while.
I wouldn't say it's been quite a while. It's been
It's long enough.
a few months at least.
So I was actually quite looking forward to getting out and giving it a go. So this is a Namco RPG. Namco not really known for RPGs, I think it's fair to say. But this one's alright. It's because it's not from a recognised JRPG company, it's different. It's turn-based combat but in real time. I know that makes no sense. Everyone gets their turn in the battle, and you can see here, everyone's waiting to get their turn, but then on the left hand side of the screen there's this timer that goes down.
Yeah,
you can do as much damage as you want in that timer.
Yeah, it seems as if you get 5 seconds to do as much as you can before the next person's turn.
Pretty much, aye. So like I say, it is turn based, but it's also real time. Weird concept. There's also a thing with if you're in the light or in the shadows, you get different moves, and your enemies can change depending on where they are. So some are stronger in the light and some are stronger in the dark. So there's a little bit of strategy at play in these battles as well, which is nice to see. Just doing something a little bit different, but it takes some getting used to.
Yeah.
So I'm in a boss battle here with this dragon, but you can see I've got it under control. So the two characters I'm playing here as are Reto and Beat. You do play as different parties that you get no choice over as the story goes. You get thrown into, you're playing as these characters now.
Oh wow.
But that kind of makes you have to play them all, which I guess adds some variety.
Yeah.
So I played a good bit of this, and it's different when it comes to RPGs. Like I mentioned, it's this kind of weird hybrid, real-time, turn-based, strategic combat system, which I've never seen in any other game, and took a bit of getting used to. But once you do it, it becomes quite intuitive, which is good. You'll notice there on the gameplay that the art style is very Studio Ghibli inspired. It looks very similar to Ni no Kuni,
Yeah.
which is another brilliant game, although that's more a traditional RPG. And when I loaded it up and obviously saw the art style, I kind of thought I was getting a Ni no Kuni, but I absolutely wasn't. And the story's really quite strange as well, because usually these are like a high fantasy or a steampunk or a sci-fi set. the whole story, and I guess this is where the sonata bit comes in, it plays out entirely in the mind of Frédéric Chopin while he's in a coma. Chopin, of course, I think he was a French composer in the 1800s. I mean, quite how this got into a Japanese role-playing game, I've got no idea. But that's the premise of it. He's in a coma in Paris, and this is the events that's playing out in his imagination. Yeah, Japanese, sometimes they're batshit crazy, but wonderfully so. They're not batshit crazy in a bad way.
Yeah, it typically never is, though, is it? But just seems so convoluted for an RPG story. But then again, they typically are at times.
But it is what it is, and it's got like this fantasy world inside his head has got a working economy, and there's good and evil in this world, and
it's something else. Pretty much.
It's something that it just sounds batshit crazy when you tell someone about it. But if you play it, it's a good game. You can quite easily get lost in the world, and I think that's the best thing you can ever say about an RPG is you do just get lost in the world that it creates. Because if there's no connection to the environment, then you don't get sucked into the story.
And I guess that's kind of why people put so much time into RPGs as well. Though.
Well, aye, because you have to.
Yeah. No, well, not just because you have to, because
if you want to get something out of the game, you have to put the time.
They want to get the most out of the game. They want to do everything that they can. So.
Well, aye, there is that as well. So yeah, that was definitely a good pick. Glad that I got a chance to play that because it'd been sitting on the shelf for far too long. And for you, I picked you one of your Christmas games.
Yeah.
I want you to fire up the PS5 and play Deathloop. So what's this about then?
Well, it's obviously Deathloop, as you can see, but it's kind of, you're trying to shut down a time loop that you've been put in. However, throughout your time, because your main character that you play as, Colt, has actually lost his entire memory pretty much. At the beginning of the game, he couldn't even remember his name. So you're trying to stop the loop because for some reason you used to work at protecting it with a bunch of visionaries.
Can I just say though, while we're watching this, what is this some kind of overpowered one-shot weapon that you've got here?
Well, it's meant to be powerful because it only does have the one bullet per mag.
Somebody died.
That was me, right? But I've played through enough of the game so that I think you get 2 deaths before the 3rd one, and that's when you fully die. But throughout you do get Residium, which you do lose it all if you do die. But with that you get to infuse some of your gear, which you then keep over the time loop, because you have to try and find a way to be able to kill all 8 visionaries in a singular day. Otherwise the loop restarts.
See, I don't know if that's a difficult thing to do or not.
Well, you have to pretty much kill all the visionaries one time and then go back through it and kill them and find the most effective way to take them all out. Otherwise,
so this is just really like trial and error, isn't it?
Pretty much.
Does it not get grindy?
There's times where you have to just find your way around places, not even killing visionaries or anything, so it gets a bit tedious at times. But when you infuse your gear, you do get to keep it across time loops, so like you can keep a weapon that you've got, or you can keep some like trinkets and that. So
no, it sounds a little bit like it's been a story to make less content stretch a long time.
Now, quite an interesting like story in a way. Of obviously the fact that you do have to stop the loop, but
well, see, I touched on it there when we were watching your gameplay. It seems like they've got this convoluted story so they can make a very small game world last a very long time. Is that right or wrong?
I'd say so. Yes, in some parts, no in others, because there's multiple different locations in the store, which each visionary pretty much has a certain location that they go to. But then you've got the fact that a thing at the very end, which I'm not at yet, you've got times where you'll have to get two in at one place.
So you have to do the same things over and over again, right?
Yeah, because
So
you've got four
you
different.
have to get upgrades to make it.
Yeah.
Is it a little bit Metroidvania in a first-person shooter?
In a way, I'd say, because obviously you do have the infusion, but if you don't have enough Residium, you can't do it. But you can then sacrifice some of your gear and that to get that amount up. But it's one of those things where you have to kind of try and figure out each way. You have to at least kill each visionary once or twice to kind of find out the best way to get around it at the very end, which in a way is good because it means that obviously your game's a bit longer, but it's also bad in a way because it's like you only ever get 4 opportunities realistically, because you've got 4 or 5 day cycles, and each time you go in a location and come back, it goes forward to the next one. So you really only get 4 opportunities, so you have to at least go through the loop twice to get your full-on game plan strategy out.
No. You haven't done it yet.
No, definitely not.
You have to keep at it, I guess.
Yes.
So, what else have we played this month? If anyone saw our last Pick Up This video, I did pick up a personal Holy Grail, and I've already sunk a lot of hours into it, just because I love the game so much. I played some Rage Racer. I loved this game when it first came out, and I think I mentioned in the last Pickups video that this was actually one of my Holy Grails. Look at how well I just fly past those cars, by the way. I just thought I'd throw that one in.
No, you've just collided with the wall.
Aye, but you know, this game does have its really frustrating things. The hit detection is terrible on it. The drifting is terrible on it. But there's enough about the game that I don't know, maybe it's rose-tinted glasses. I love it. Even with all its faults, it's a game that how many hours have I put into this since I picked up again? This was definitely one of my Holy Grails. And see that there's the drift, and that lost all my momentum, and I'm going uphill. This is the thing that I really like about the game, is that momentum plays such a huge part in your lap, because you have to carry speed through these parts where you can't pick up any speed, like going up that big hill. And there's other parts where you have to be carrying enough momentum to do it. Watch the advertising board here. Look, there we are. Right. Because you can put your own logo on the game, so obviously I put the channel logo on there. You can see I'm having a right good battle here with the car that's now in second position, but this is a tight corner that I smashed into the wall, and see, the computer has no problem at all drifting. You saw the difficulty I got into.
Probably because you're not used to drifting in racing games, though, are you?
Oh no, I've played the Ridge Racer games and I love them. All the Ridge Racer PS1 games, the drifting mechanic wasn't great. And we're coming around the last bend here. Oh, will I just sneak it? I think I might. There you go. So I kind of touched on it there. This game has got a lot of faults. Head detection's dodgy. Some of the driving mechanics are a bit wonky. It's very grindy. But I love it.
Well,
for all its faults, I just absolutely love it.
Well, I think every person has that game where they'll love it, but everyone else just thinks it's a
I
mess.
think, well, I don't think it's
Well,
universally
well, it's not
loved. In fact, I think it's not really very remembered at all, but it is the best PS1 Ridge Racer game, even though it's the one that's not called Ridge Racer. It's a little bit darker in tone. I mean, you've got the PS1 limitations that, yes, there's 4 different tracks, but they're all played on the same streets, just going different ways around the city. So there's not a huge amount of variation, and like I said, because it's very grindy, I think that's possibly why people don't remember it as fondly as I do. But I loved it at the time. I still love it now. Maybe even something like as little as you saw the advertising board that had our channel logo on, because I put it on there. And do you know what? That just fills me full of joy that I can do that in a PS1 title. Because that's just not something that you could do on PS1 titles. In fact, there was very few PS2 titles that let you put your own artwork on it.
And to be fair, there's very little new games that do that as well, because they just don't put the actual thing in.
I think we're in a different world now where you can upload JPEGs and...
Well, yeah, you can do that, but like, there's not a lot of games which want you to fully customize it, because it'll kind of, obviously, they've got that atmosphere and they've got that experience that they want to go for.
Yeah, I mean, the customization isn't brilliant. It's not a huge amount that you can do with your cars and what have you. But it gives you just enough that you feel like it's yours and it's special. So that's why I put, once again, what we're now 25-ish years after it was first released, and I'm still putting hours and hours into it because I just love it.
Oh well, for me, I've only really sunk a lot of time into one other game, so this is technically, yes, it is my final game for this month in games. However, I have put a decent amount of time in it, and that is Persona 5 Strikers.
So you really like the base game?
Yeah.
This one is this one comes up with Koei Tecmo on the thing, which probably explains the Dynasty Warriors
Combat.
Aye. How's this one?
Well, it's in a way its own game. In a way, I get that it's technically a spin-off, but it does actually.
Is it a spin-off or is it like a sequel?
I think you could kind of class it as a sequel because the story does happen after the events of the first game, which is why
Most sequels do.
Well, I get that, but if I think there's 2 or 3 Persona 5 games which came out after the original one, because you've got the dancing one, Royal, which was just
that was just a reworking of the original,
and it added a few things, and then you've got Strikers. But I've quite enjoyed it.
Oh, that was quite a neat move.
But also in this one, you get to pretty much play as whoever you want as well. You get.
Could you not do that on the original one?
No,
you had to be Joker, didn't you?
You had to go through everything as Joker. Obviously, you still got to control the actions of all the other ones. But in this one, you actually get to choose who you want to really play as.
Yeah, going through as Panther here.
Yes. The only thing is you still obviously have to keep Joker in your party. But I'd say I'm quite near the end of this game, I'll be honest.
No, I guess we'll find out soon enough because you're putting time into it, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm about just over 20 hours into it or something like that. But there has been 2 new characters added to the game. One which you get in the first part and one which you get at the 6th one.
Well, let's not do any spoilers, huh?
But this is me, and I think this is definitely towards the end because
there's a lot of using guns here.
There is because your ammo replenishes at the end.
I'm guessing this is a special move, huh?
Yeah, this is what is a showtime. So you have a showtime gauge which gradually goes up.
So Persona 5 Striker. This was the only Persona 5 game that you hadn't played, isn't it?
In a way, because I haven't played the added parts of Royal because I just haven't even played it or got it. But this is the one where it's not the only one which I haven't played until obviously now, which isn't pretty much the same as the original base game that they're based off of.
Well, you say it's not the same, but it's, for me, it's got all the best parts of the original game. The presentation, I think the music is so intrinsically linked to Persona 5 as well.
Because I think they're remixes actually of the original.
Of that, but it's like this, and like the art style and the transitions and all that are all there when I've watched you play it. So it's like it's instantly familiar,
but not at the
but
same
the
time.
combat's completely different.
Yeah.
We've gone all Dynasty Warriors.
Yeah, which isn't actually a bad thing.
Well, I suppose it's no different to Zelda's a decent game and Hyrule Warriors is a good game.
Yeah, in a way, but back onto Persona 5 Strikers, I guess. For me, it was instantly one of the games which I have enjoyed, mainly because, if I'm being honest, Persona 5 is one of my favourite games probably of all time, I'll be honest.
So you love the characters, you love the set.
Yeah, it's just one of those games where it clicks with me. It's one of those
but
games.
this setting's different, isn't it? Because was it just Tokyo in Persona 5?
Yeah.
That you travel around Japan?
Yeah, you're travelling around Japan this one because you're trying to clear your name once again because somehow, some way, even though you've been away for about, I think, 5 years or something, because your main character has went somewhere, I think, back home or something, because in the original he was sent to Japan because he was causing mischief or something where he once was. So, but he's back, obviously, to spend time with these friends that he'd made and that. But now he's somehow been brought back into a world where the police want to arrest him, everyone doesn't like them, and it's because instead of having palaces, they're now jails in a way. So instead of there being a ruler who just like takes it and has like a treasure, it's like desires in a way. It's like that
So they've
bit's been
taken the
changed.
core concept and just tweaked it.
Yeah, but it kind of makes sense because if it was to be like strike as combat with the original one, it wouldn't make as much sense and it wouldn't be as probably blended together as well. So it's like there's new concepts like with the jails. There's like 3 prison keys which you have to go to get something, and then it will like unlock the next bit to the actual jail, which makes more sense than if it was just you battle through it and then you meet the monarch, which it is now, and you've done your deal and then you go. But also in this one you get to go back to the jails. In the original one you couldn't actually go back to the palaces. So
is that replayability or is that just for grinding?
a bit of replayability and a bit of grinding because Persona 5 original had the mementos, which was where you done your requests. Now you're doing them in the former jails.
No, right.
So it kind of, so far it's been a bit like
So
the
that-
mementos
So they're basically filling a double purpose.
in a way.
You say an early finish. I'm guessing that you're going to finish this one.
I'm definitely going to finish it, and who
You
knows.
do love the world of Persona 5.
Yeah, and potentially if it's not as soon as it might be in my mind, it might just show up next month as well.
No, we'll see. Well, I have played a couple other games. First one that I've sunk a good lot of time into. I just sunk a lot of time into learning the mechanics of the game, to be honest with you, and then a similar amount of time after that really playing the game in all the game modes. Hampered a little by the fact that it's all in kanji, so I've had to have my mobile phone on standby to
Point at the screen.
translate all the text on the screen for me when I'm going through the story mode. But I have been playing King of Colosseum 2.
I can't remember the last time I've seen a wrestling game on the monthly games, if there even has been one.
I don't know if there has actually, but actually there hasn't been a a decent wrestling game out for a while. And this one came out a long time ago. Obviously, this is Japan exclusive, and it's got like New Japan, All Japan, Noah, and all those on it. But you will recognise some of the characters. In this match, I'm playing as Jushin Liger against Kenta, and I think you'll agree that I'm kind of kicking his arse at the minute. I like this because it's not button mashing.
It's more about the timing, isn't it?
It is, and this seems to be a Japanese thing with
because like Fire Pro.
Fire Pro's all timing based instead of just mashing buttons as hard as you can, which probably explains why retro consoles are more abundant in Japan, because they didn't smash controllers trying to mash buttons for every game that was ever released.
Probably why they're in bad condition.
Probably, aye. Let's see if we can put him out with this choke.
Now, why are you trying to win by submission as Liger?
Because Liger can do it all.
But you should know to hit the Liger bomb.
Well, technically you should hit the shooting star press.
Well, either one, really.
But you take what's given to you, and if you can chuck him out, you chuck him out. So anyway, you said Liger bomb.
Now that's better. Of course it put him away for the 3.
Of course it did. So I joked there a little bit about... well, actually, it's not a joke. I genuinely did have to point my smartphone at the screen and translate the kanji in English so I could play through the story parts of this game.
Which prolongs your experience a bit further, doesn't it?
But this is like the perfect balance of new technology and retro, because smartphone technology opens up these games and makes them more accessible than they ever were at time of release.
Yeah.
It's great that we can now play some of these Japan exclusive titles that have got a bit of story to them and get them translated. I can't wait for the technology to get a little bit better, because I think when you go back to certainly you go back to the 8-bit stuff, the kanji is so pixelated that even smartphones are struggling to translate it. But PS2 seems to be a nice sweet spot that it's clear enough writing that it can be translated. Outside when we're playing now, the game itself is not a button masher. It seems that all fighting games or boxing games or wrestling games or UFC games that we've ever got in the West are just pure button mashers. It's like, let's see how quickly we can smash this controller. Whereas in Japan it's a lot more strategic, and it's timing based and all that, and it just probably more simulation focused than it is arcade focused in the West.
Because also playing them, you have to kind of work your way up your move set as well. Like you go for your light moves up to your more like intricate moves.
Yeah, you get that here as well. That you can't just straight from the off hit your biggest moves. And
well, I mean, you can with some games that have been released in the West. Seen both.
I think most of them you can.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a nice change of pace. Obviously, we're big wrestling fans, but we haven't seen a decent wrestling game in years.
Yeah.
When was the last one?
Fire Pro Wrestling World, yeah. Which wasn't. You said yes, but it doesn't feel like it was
2017.
Doesn't feel like it.
I would have to check. It is years ago.
It doesn't feel like it was years ago. I'll be perfectly honest. I think it was 2018, 19 or something like that. It was like 3-4 years ago.
But you're still talking years.
You're still talking years, but it doesn't feel like it. It really doesn't.
So I spent a lot of time at that. Even won Best of the Super Juniors with Liger. Because, Liger's the man. Except he's not anymore. now that he's doing the commentary for New Japan, I never realised that the long hair was just part of the mask. I thought that was his sticking out the mask. There you go. The things you learn, eh?
Well, I mean, to be fair, I think it all depends though, doesn't it? Because there was times where he took off the mask and that, didn't he, and became Kishin. He was bald, wasn't he?
Well, no. Kishin like had blonde hair.
No, like when he took it off and he was like, he had the face, like the paint on his body and that, and he was bald, like towards the end of his career, I bet.
So yeah.
So
I just remember the full black suit Kishin Liger with the blonde hair, which I'm guessing now is just attached to the mask. Anyway, that's a different conversation. We're not talking about wrestling. We're talking about wrestling games.
Yes, we're talking about games, not wrestling.
But this one was a good one, and something that you would never get in the West either with King of Colosseum 2 is it's not a New Japan licensed game, although it is, but it's also All Japan and Noah and 01 and
yeah, it's pretty much all like the big Japanese promotions all licensed to one game.
Exactly. Why can't we get like a Western release where we get all the people on here? So you could have like a WWF roster and an AEW roster and a Ring of Honor and an Impact and you know what I'm saying?
Well, I think we kind of know some of the reasons why the.
Well, it doesn't make sense when they can do it in Japan.
Because I think Japan's a bit more lenient. That might be why of working with other companies to make a single product.
You say that. Nintendo and Sony will tell you differently. But anyway, talking of Sony, my last game for this month was an up-to-date one. I did play a PS5 game, one that I previously played on the Series X. I played Dirt 5. We've played this before.
Yes, and it's been on our month in games before.
But this is a different one. This is
the PlayStation 5 version.
Yeah, this is the PS5 version instead of the Series X. But it's exactly the same game. You can see I've got a nice Peugeot 205 Turbo. I do like my retro hatchbacks. And I've kind of enjoyed my time with this game again. I did enjoy it first time, but this is kind of like this copy and paste whatever I said about it last time. The one thing I will say though is that although it's exactly the same, it's a better game to play on PS5.
Now, how does that work then if it's the exact same game?
Do you know, like with the haptic feedback and with the
DualSense,
what is it, adaptive triggers as well?
Yeah, the DualSense's functionality.
I mean, it's exactly the same game, but there's so much more tactile feedback when you're playing it.
Yeah, well then that makes sense of why it's a better game then.
Aye. But yeah, apart from the tactile feedback, you can copy and paste everything that I said about it the first time. There's no incentive to buy any additional cars, although I did try to do it this playthrough. But you actively get punished for buying extra cars because you then get a lower multiplier on your rewards.
Which makes no sense at all.
Yeah. But the game itself plays well. Like I said, the adaptive triggers, haptic feedback, absolutely brilliant. So that was Dirt 5. Like I said there, all the same faults with the Series X version or in this version. There's no incentive to...
well, actually there's kind of more of a guidance towards not buying the cars.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just that there's no incentive to buying new cars.
There's an incentive to not.
the game actively discourages you from doing it.
So really, unless there's a car which you really want, there's no real point, is there?
Well, no, unfortunately there isn't. But mechanically, as a racer, it's still a solid game. I think I said this when I played this on the Series X. I like Dirt 5 because it's very similar to Dirt 3.
Yeah, you definitely did say that.
But there was at least 3 Dirt games between Dirt 3 and Dirt 5, all of which were total shite. So it's a very hit and miss series. Just because I like Dirt 5 doesn't mean that. I mean, do you know what would be really? It would be like the biggest kick in the nuts if Dirt 6 comes out and it's shite gameplay like the ones in between 3 and 5, but actually has a rewarding system for encouraging getting a big garage and all that.
And it's actually got good cars that you want.
That would be like my worst nightmare.
Because
it's going to happen.
Because there's barely any cars in Dirt 5, isn't there?
Well,
I say that, but there is still...
There's a number of cars, but because they put them all in
DLC
categories. No, it's because they put them into categories. And there's so many categories, and all the categories are so similar. Like, there's not much choice. So there's like, even like your basic rally, you don't have a rally class with all the rally cars. You have 4 rally classes, each has 2 or 3 cars in, which really cuts down on your choice.
I think also the fact that I think at this point you have doubled the amount of cars just for DLC.
Well, yeah, and that's something that I hate, that we're holding back content that should have been in the base game that's already on the disc, just so we can charge people real world money to pay again for something that they already own. But that's a rant that I'm not going to have again. But yeah, I've enjoyed my time with the game. It's got no replayability value. Well, I say that, but I've played it twice.
Yeah,
now. Played it on Series X and on.
I guess in the fact that there is replayability if you've got it on the both consoles. If you've got them both.
I wouldn't have played them back to back though.
No.
The fact that I had like a good amount of time, and I kind of forgot all the things that I didn't like about it on the Series X version.
But also, I think the fact that you also get rewarded with the trophies instead of if you were playing back on the Series X, you would have got nothing.
But yeah,
it kind of makes a bit of a difference as well. Well,
maybe it does. I don't know. But yeah, played it again. Like the game. I mean, it's 2 racing games that I played this month. I like the game.
Normally we'll at least get one.
I like the games, despite the flaws. The difference is Ridge Racer, I would go back and play another. I mean, I don't know how many hours I'm in it now, but I'd put in another 20-30 hours quite happily. Dirt 5, not so much. It doesn't have the replayability.
Yeah.
So that's everything that we've sunk. Well, there is one other game that I sunk a lot more time into, but because I'm so close to the end, I'm going to
just wait.
Going to wait, and it'll probably go in next month. So we're at the point of the video now where we decide what we're going to pick for each other to play over the next month. Who's going first?
I'll go first this time and give you what you're going to be playing. So, for next month, I'm giving you a game which we've just recently got during January, and it is Sega Ages Volume 1. Now I can already tell which game you're going to be putting the most time into in this.
Space Harrier.
No, it's the one that's called Outrun, isn't it?
Probably. But, yeah, this is what you got me for on my birthday. I'm really pleased that you did, because I love Outrun.
And it's on a Sega console as well.
I don't mind Afterburner, quite like Space Harrier, but I love Outrun, one of my favourite games of all time. So yeah, I'm really going to enjoy putting some time into that, because it really deserves it. For you, I've chose a game that I got you for your birthday. How about that? Great minds think alike and all that, or people with no imagination come up with the same idea. whatever the truth may be.
Whatever you may think.
But for you, I want you to play on the Wii U, Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild. Neither of us have actually played this game. We didn't own it until your birthday. Didn't get it on the Switch when we got the Switch.
But it's meant to be an absolutely amazing game.
Well, get it played and we'll find out. So I think that just about wraps it up for this, man.
Definitely does.
So until next time, if you haven't already,
Also like, share, and subscribe and turn the notification bell so you can notified when we upload, and we will see you in the next video.